Greetings, interactive literature fans. First a note, I'm afraid that I can't really do these as a monthly thing anymore because I am simply not able to read fast enough to get these done quickly. I won't abandon you guys completely though. I do plan on doing some more reviews of Choose Your Own Adventure books in the future. It's just that I can't do them all the time. I can't do them every month. Sorry about that. Anyways, today I will talk about a very fun one. Heroes of Myth by Abigail C. Trevor. Abigail Trevor, as far as I know, has only written this book, but she has a few production credits in some other Choice of Games titles, and her Twitter lists her as an assistant editor at Choice of Games, so she's probably intimately familiar with the format, and probably has a lot of insights on these books from reading others. And just so you know, this is a pretty lengthy book compared to most other Choice of Games titles I've played. Now, I prefer my books to be shorter, but I know a lot of people prefer them to be longer, so make that of what you will. This book gets a prize from me because I was sold on it by premise alone. While the title is, admittedly, really generic fantasy, and an unhelpful indicator of the book you're getting, it has a very cool idea. Intro quote, go! Last time you were in prison, the saviors of the world pulled you out. It was a totally different prison, of course. The cell was large, even comfortable, unlike the one on Elith. After all, this one is royally appointed. You've moved up in the world since you rescued it from the edge of oblivion. The guard outside your cell is a young woman, probably new to the royal service, and much more awed by the presence of one of the nation's heroes than the pair who dragged you from your home about an hour ago. She keeps sneaking glances through the bars of your cell. You might have some chance on trading on your reputation to get through to her. Essentially what happened was that, some time ago, you and a small group of other heroes saved the world from a demonic incursion brought on by a half-demon sorceress, Verity Fairgrave. You used your magic to protect the people, killed the demoness, and closed the portal to the demon world. Except that was all a lie. Your character is a powerful illusionist, a magical talent that is exceedingly rare in this world, and you created the whole situation to escape imprisonment. She's not just staring, you realize after a moment. She's gathering the courage to speak. There's something I wanted to ask you, if I ever got the chance, she says softly. Whatever misunderstanding that is that brought you here, I'm sure you'll sort it out. And I've always wondered, what was it like? That first moment in Passema, when the seal on the portal split and the demon burst free. It should be a simple answer, one you've given 100 times before. But tonight, the question stabs at your gut in a way it hasn't in years. The question, and the certainty that you can't tell the truth. In truth, of course, is that you were much less concerned when that first demon emerged than you are right now in this cell. Because, just like every other aspect of your legendary journey to save the world, that demon was absolutely fake. You spend the first couple chapters exploring this con perpetrated by you and 3 others. Verity has no demonic power, but she has a demonic heritage that she can't escape from, so she allowed herself to fake her own death to create a new life for herself. You're familiar with my family history, Verity said. She didn't make it a question. Since Damien Fairgrave was overthrown, prophets have predicted that one of his descendants will rise up like him. Every time demons break free and the portal has to be sealed again, someone claims we're responsible. Which is absurd, Alvis puts in. Decay over time is inevitable in obstruction spells, particularly when you account for the vagaries of demonic magic. I want it to be over, Verity said. She hadn't turned to Alvis when he spoke, and she wasn't quite looking at you and Letha either. I want people to stop staring at me like there's a beast inside me, plotting to tear them in two. And the only way I can think of to put the rumors to rest is to fulfill them. Make a prophecy come true. Pretend I mean to conquer the world. Let some heroes claim they've killed me. Then begin again somewhere else. And he's your hero? Letha asked, casting a skeptical glance at Alvis. Verity shook her head. You're my heroes, she said. He's my prophet. Alvis is a man with no magical ability, but has a lot of magical knowledge. However, the Mages Academy does not have much respect for people without classic magical abilities. If you can't shoot fireballs, you are of no use to them. I have an ongoing disagreement with the Royal Arcane Academy, Alvis said, stepping forward. He's not a mage. They won't let him in, Verity said. I've studied history and theory of magic all my life, longer than most of their practitioners, Alvis said. He narrowed his eyes at Verity. And magic has been known to surface later in life. There have been. He's not a mage. They won't let him in, Verity said, with a hint of a smile. Alvis acted as a prophet for the plan, as prophets are just good enough to the Academy to be allowed entrance. So he made up a prophecy for you to give life to. Finally, there is Letha, your warrior. She was in the same situation as you were, except she was destined for execution for doing the right thing. Once again, Letha Cardos is standing on the other side of the bars. She looks almost as you remember her. Taut, muscled frame, tawny skin, long dark hair pulled back. But there's a complex web of braids in her hair that she never bothered with before, and the sword at her side has intricate patterns on the hilt that only would have been there 3 years ago if you spelled them into existence. This blade would hardly require your assistance to look magical, though you somehow doubt it could catch flame on its own. You think she's wearing silk. You executed your plan, and 3 years passed. You are 3 heroes and an apparently dead villain. You're one of the most famous people in the land, renowned as a powerful mage. You lived in the lap of luxury. And then, the prophecy you made up began to repeat itself. And this time, you had nothing to do with it. Wait, you said as they turned to leave. Can you at least tell me why I'm here? The younger guard's eyes widened. You mean you don't know either? He asked. The elder guard hesitated. We weren't told, she said. But I imagine it's something to do with... Well, look out the window if you haven't seen it yet. Then they stepped out through the dungeon door and were gone. Slowly you crossed over to the wall and climbed onto the cot below your small barred window. What in the world had happened? Maybe you can find out from Letha in the morning. She lived at the palace now, after all. You sighed and lifted your head to look outside. At first you saw nothing but an ordinary sky. Then you raised your gaze higher, and stared, and kept staring. You still can't keep from staring now, even with the guard and her questions hovering beyond the bars of your cell. The full moon over Arca is blood red. The first omen in your prophecy has come true again. And this time you had nothing to do with it. Now, instead of lying about your heroism, you have been called to save the world in earnest with your cohorts in crime. You, Alvis, and Letha have to go find more information. Verity isn't with you because she has covered her tracks and disappeared. Though she does come back later in the story, and you can tell because you still have a relationship stat with her after she has left. And other people get mixed in with this as well. A non-binary bard who has information that, by all rights, they shouldn't have. The amount they know can be quite disconcerting. The singer smiles up at you, as though they've visited 1,000 times. Their shining black hair falls loosely to their shoulders, the simple style contrasting with their foreign and elaborate purple and silver robe. You're not certain if it's a man's robe, a woman's, or neither, though it's too formal to be lounging in on other people's stairs regardless. A pleasure, Veronica, they say, offering you their hand as they come to their feet. Their accent is unfamiliar too. I've been wondering if you would ever come to a performance. Is that vain? I think you have me at a disadvantage, you say. There are too many other questions rolling around in your mind right now. They dip into a bow with a flourish. My name is Min. I arrived from Sienha a few months ago. You might have heard my songs about your journey in the Eternal Seal, or the Blessed Crown, or any of the taverns and theaters in Arca. We also have Meredith, a mysterious woman who has strange abilities and knowledge, though she has a lot of trust issues. And finally, we have Princess Despina and Prince Evander, heirs to the throne in competition with each other. They want to help fix the situation, but they also have their own agendas. Now I've given you a bit of an idea of what you're going to be expecting, and showed you a couple of characters. This is when I get into spoilers. Secrets, truth, and lies, and how they connect to heroism are huge themes in this book, so naturally there are going to be a few twists. If you want me to go into more loving detail, stay tuned. But if the bits I have talked about have interested you in the book, and you want to avoid spoilers, then skip to this part of the video to get where I talk about mechanics. So, now that I'm dropping spoilers, let's rewind back to Meredith and the twists she brings. First and foremost, and probably the most obvious out of the way, she's a demon. She is a genuine demonic creature originating from beyond the magical portal. However, she is not evil. In fact, she is actually on your side. The woman slowly raises her head from the Book of Prophecy, dark hair brushing past her shoulders and falling fully to her waist. She's dressed in simple woolen traveling clothes, noticeably not mage's robes. She stares at you for so long you start to wonder if you're the one doing something wrong, or, as she looks even longer, if she knows you somehow. There's something almost like recognition in her eyes, but you're sure her face is completely unfamiliar. "Oh," she says, "it's you." That would be a point in favor of her having met you before, if not for the fact that you're one of the most famous people in the country. When you reach the end of the first act, after getting to know the political situation and meeting your first demon, Meredith tells you what's going on. She tells you of a demon lord named Catafel, who has magical abilities that are weird even for demons. While demons can teleport, control minds, shapeshift, and other weird stuff, Catafel was unique in his ability to warp reality. He could speak something, and what he says becomes truth. He shifts reality at a whim. The great hero from a previous demon war managed to seal the portal, but some of the demons couldn't simply be banished or killed. Some of them had to be changed into objects. These objects would gain tremendous magical power. Catafel himself was turned into a book of prophecy, which the mages used to catalyze prophecies, including the fake one Alvis and Verity created. So this reality warping demon got turned into a book and is still alive and conscious, if not lucid, and a prophecy that was not actually happened and pertained to demons very intimately. It was enough for Catafel to turn that prophecy into reality. Meredith is still chuckling, the sound turning more bitter. Elis didn't have time to force all the demons in your world back through the portal before he sealed it, so he sealed them here into objects. Magical artifacts with a bit of the original demon's power inside. Toys for your mages to use, and he took 3 of them for himself back to your castle and your academy. One of those precious trinkets was a book. The only book at the academy that's magic in of itself is the Book of Prophecy, Alvis says, frowning. "Are you saying that's him? Is that why you—" He stops suddenly. He's going pale again. Meredith makes a sound that's half a sigh and half the wild laughter from before. "You took a false prophecy and convinced the world it was true. Then you wrote it into a magical book containing the soul of a demon who turns lies into truth by the power of belief. Do you understand what's happening now? Do you understand what you've done?" "To be absolutely fair," Alvis says in a perfectly ordinary tone, "we weren't the ones who wrote in the book." Then he sinks down to the ground. "So not only did you con the world into making you famous, you also unknowingly unleashed an all-powerful demon onto the world. Good job, hero." "Your Catafel was a demon who could lie? You're just making up stories to distract us now," Alvis says, rolling his eyes. "No, of course not. No demon can lie. What Catafel could do was speak the truth into existence. If he had enough people believing the lie, he could make it come true when he spoke it. Life, death, the world around him, rewritten to his desires. Elis wasn't wrong to stop him." She sighs. "I suppose he was so frightened the rest of us would develop Catafel's powers that he wanted us all shut away. Or perhaps he meant to betray us from the start." She stopped talking in circles around being a demon, you notice. However, there is a silver lining. Catafel's power runs on American Gods rules. Essentially, the more people believe in the story, the more of the prophecy the demon can replicate in reality. However, he doesn't have total control over it. This leaves you with 2 options. And this is the main reason I'm putting in the spoiler tag, as it can drastically change how you do things in the book. If you go out and tell the truth, tell the world that the prophecy was fake and that you aren't a hero, then Catafel will not be able to make the prophecy stick. He'll return, but be so weak that he can't do much. However, you can actually go in the opposite direction. If you strengthen the world's belief in your story, then Catafel would not be able to pick and choose which elements to make real, including the elements that would stop him. You can force the demon to give you magic. You can get true, legit, powerful magic. Enough to fight the demon on equal terms. And I love this little extra bit in the story, as it creates a huge counterpoint to the theme. If you strengthen the lie, then you will end up turning that lie into truth. You will turn from a fake hero into a real one. You will have defeated a demon and saved the world, but you accomplish that through dishonest means. Break the lie, however, and you still become a hero. Defeat the demon, save the world, but by revealing that you aren't a hero. It's a fascinating paradox, and it fits really well. When you and Alvis finish your explanation of Meredith's revelations, Princess Despina is still staring at Min. "Would Sienna reopen diplomatic relations if we open the portal?" she asks. "Is that what it would take?" Min blinks. "Well, I'm not a politician, Your Highness, but I imagine it would help. But we aren't doing that, are we? Letha asks, frowning, a hand on Princess Despina's shoulder. Just because a demon asked us to. Of course we aren't, Alvis says, but I don't think that's the first question right now. We have to figure out what we're doing about Catafel. Telling the truth about the prophecy and weakening Catafel, or continuing to lie and strengthening ourselves. Naturally, I know which one I favor. I believe you all know which way I'm inclined as well, Min said. You can't start telling the truth, not just before the wedding, Princess Despina says, waving a dismissive hand. She looks back at Min. Do you know any politicians? I've been trying to open trade with Sianha for most of the last decade. Letha hesitates, stroking Princess Despina's shoulder. I never liked lying, she says. But we can't, can we? Not before the wedding. And not with things with Stefan the way they are. She passes her free hand over her face. What do you think, Veronica? Continuing to follow this book's themes on lies, each of the main characters have interesting relationships with deception. Letha wants to be honest, but doing so can potentially get her killed due to things that happened in the prologue. Alphys is very much the classic liar, creating a complicated web of lies around him, but he doesn't get greedy. He wants a few simple things and is willing to lie as much as he needs to get what he wants. Verity starts out seeing the lie as a tool to absolve her of her background. But later, when she comes back, she does a heel turn. She sees that the lie had actual consequences for people, and she feels guilty for her part in it. Min has a weird relationship with truth. They have power of their own, where they get a feel for the existence of truth, and when untruth is told, it feels wrong to them. This was how they knew about the lie in the first place, so they seek out truth wherever they go. And finally, we have Meredith. She's a demon, and in this book, demons go by fairy rules, where they can't tell a direct lie, but that doesn't mean they are incapable of deception. She can dodge questions and give half-truths in order to obfuscate what she actually means. However, she doesn't have personal feelings about deception. It's just another tool for her to accomplish her goals. Oh yeah, Meredith's goals. Let's quickly talk about them. She's in complete agreement that Catafel is evil and needs to be stopped. But she wants the demon portal to stay open. She wants safety and peace for her demonic brethren, and she wants to make sure they can go peacefully through the portal if desired. So if you plan on closing the portal or harming demons needlessly, you may get on her bad side. That was a long literary section, but let's get to the mechanics now. Let's take a look at those beautiful, beautiful stats. And I will say, I do love how these stats fit into the theme of the book as well. Aside from things that are context specific, like the relationships and power dynamics, most of the stats are related to deception as well. I can tell that Abigail Trevor put a lot of thought into what goes into deception. First, we have your skills. While you are a powerful mage, you are given a bunch of skills that allow you to pull things off without relying on magic. Talk your way out of problems, run fast, fight hard, use your academic knowledge, whatever you can use to get what you need. Now, if there is one thing I can criticize, it's that we have a magic stat in this skill list. The issue here is that your magical ability is already a fact about your character, to the point where you fooled an entire country with your illusions. So it seems odd that you would fail checks because you suck at magic. It's a weird choice for how the plot is presented. Granted, not too out of left field considering that there is a 3-year gap between the con and the main action of the story, but it doesn't feel like a skill that would wane that much. Might have been a good idea to have checks with magic instead pertain to your traits. Now speaking of traits, let's look at those. We have honesty versus deception, a pretty obvious one. Do you try to be honest or are you always deceptive? Showy versus subtle is a fun thing, because it shows the two big methods of deception. Draw the eye elsewhere with distraction, or prevent people from ever knowing you are being deceptive. Idealism and cynicism, another bit of easy dichotomy. And humble versus aloof. Do you engage with people or not? This last one is kind of confusing because it's not exactly clear what it actually means, especially from choice to choice. After these, we have aims and ambitions. Each of these will become clear as you read. You will see the rift between the crown and the mages, and that between Despina and Evander respectively, but Masquerade and Heroic Reputation will be the ones most necessary. Masquerade is the people's belief in your story, and Heroic Reputation is how much of a hero you are in the eyes of the people. Do note that these are not mutually exclusive like some of the other stats. People might not believe your story, but they might still think that you are a hero because you're being successful during this current crisis. And of course, we have our connections. Simple enough, these are the relationships you have cultivated among your group of heroes. Which ones of them will remain friends, and which ones will become enemies. Now the choices themselves are pretty standard for choose your own adventures. Single choices check single stats, or sometimes more, and can raise or lower stats. They do a good job in what they're supposed to do. The skill checks can range from easy to hard, but usually they are good about projecting which skills they check and are not giving you too few choices or too many, making you have to invest points in more than one skill, but giving you the legroom that you need. You'll find that you'll have your talents locked in pretty early, though how good you are at them can be determined by how often you use them, or by those times you spend training. You exit the courtyard and make your way through the streets of Arca towards your mansion. It's only as you turn towards your neighborhood and see people just leaving their houses that you remember it's still morning, and fairly early morning at that. That means you still have most of the day to prepare for your journey tomorrow, however it is you prepare for something like this. You don't know what you'll be facing, but there's at least one thing you can work on before tomorrow morning. Going over my books. It's the best way to figure out what might be happening here. Normally, though, your choices and your successes therein will affect your ambitions and relationships more often. I have said before that I think it might be better to have successes at checks affect separate stats, like health in Night Road, or your reputation here. Makes it less necessary to check your skill sheet all the time. All in all, though, the mechanics are very well done. No huge extra frills, but it does what it needs to do. So what will you do to save the world? Will you fight and do your best? Reveal a lie? Or what else? Give it a read. This is a wonderful book, and I encourage you to give it a try. You can't get a sense of the demon's shape when you first see it. Its body is flickering and dark, not quite solid. You got that much right 3 years ago. But it's larger than any of your false demons, and less humanoid. Sprawling arcs that must be limbs stretch across the sky, outlining a tangled form nearly as large as a carriage. You can only tell where its head is from its glowing red eyes. The thing stretches and contracts in the air, as if trying to decide what size it should be. It throws its head back and produces a sound, something like thunder and running water. It can't possibly be a language, only a formless noise of fury. And that is Heroes of Myth, a great book in my opinion. This book is available on Amazon, the App Store, Google Play, and Steam. Now, I do not know when my next review is going to be, but I do hope to see you there. Take care, friends. The gate, once sealed, is rent once more. The fiends undying freed. They crawl forth now and still will come and twist us for their greed. As rose before, a tainted beast seeks yet to sit a throne, though felled in years gone by the threat laid shelter by their own. O'er Arcan skies the moon will glow blood red this first dread night. Will serve to call our heroes, mage and mystic sword in sight. At Passema through the ancient door will next a demon tear. Our heroes may yet force it back, a shield against despair. Through Elith stalk the evil fiends, perverting minds and hearts. With one pawn felled, our heroes fight to halt their wicked arts. The demon lord's ambitions rise, our crowns stolen away. This relic's loss a call, brave champions must obey. To Passema again to fly, our saviors chase their fate. The battle there concludes it all, the heroes, beast, and gate.